we are selling our formula officially. It's amazing stuff from Europe.
Made in Germany. Sold in America.
Highest standards there are. In America, the standards haven't been updated since 1980. It's super weird, like older than me. In Europe, they update safety standards basically every year. This formula is top notch, great for the stomach, great for constipation. This is a great product. If you happen to want to purchase it and join us on our journey, then grab the link in the description. If you do and leave a review for us, send me a screenshot at vinandsori@gmail.com of your review after you have received the product. We will put your name in a hat. Song reviews are going to come out by some of the people that have left reviews. Don't forget to send us a screenshot of your review once you get the product. Now a word from our mascot dressed as a pirate, Fuji.
It's a steal of a deal.
It's a steal of a deal. All right, ladies and gents, we have a ton.
Yes. We have another song.
Yes, we have another song on the way. It's by a brother by the name of Tim Minchin. Do we have a little intro thingamajiggy
Live
for that?
performance of my favorite piano player. He's also a hell of a comedian.
Okay.
Great song about the plight of the artist.
This is a...
For the big homie Seven Dusted.
This is Seven Dusted. This is a, I think it's kind of an official video. You guys know how we get down.
And Nikki.
We do not, or Mrs. Dusted. But I've already said Nikki.
You said that, so I thought we could. Okay, apologies if...
Well, he hasn't threatened to murder me yet, so I think we're in decent shape, inshallah.
I thought she said it in one of her past streams. But anyway, let's go. I could be wrong.
Dorian messaged me. He goes, finally!
Oh, good. What happened?
I don't know.
Huh? Okay. Well, anyway, let's check it out. Did you have it downloaded?
I don't know. I do have it downloaded.
Then let's do it up.
You have the lyrics? Okay.
Ooh,
here we go. No, it's okay. Don't worry about it. I got it. Tim Minchin, Dark Side, let's go. It's an official video. You guys know how we get down. If it gets suspended or whatever, stick around because I'm pretty sure that we're not going to get blocked on this one. It might get suspended. We don't cut up the videos, and that's the reason we have Patreon alliances and PayPal and stuff like that. So don't worry about us with the AdSense stuff. Don't worry about AdSense.
Thanks.
We get blocked from time to time. If it happens, what'll happen, it'll say your screen, it'll say suspended. Then, in a couple minutes, we'll be back up, okay? So, don't sweat it. All right, here we go. Tim Minchin, let's do it.
Here's the lyrics.
This dude is kind of funny.
Well, he did say he was a comedian.
I worry that because a lot of my songs are stupid, that people are going to leave my show thinking I lack depth. That I'm not a tortured, brooding, and so to allay that fear, I always try to finish on this song, which I've written in the key of C sharp minor.
See what's to prove he has depth.
Seems to help. And to add to the sense of profundity generated by this key center, I tend to change the lights a bit, just so that it's mostly red. And I think it goes pretty well in general. I think people leave my show hopefully having had a good time and everything, but also saying things to one another like, yeah, that guy's really deep. Yeah, I noticed that.
You noticed how
Really
deep he
deep,
was.
eh?
They're having conversations amongst themselves.
It's deep as, bro. So yeah, this is a song called Dark Side. And I'll see you at the other end. I can have a dark side if you want me to. I can have a dark side. what you talking about? I thought that everything was just fine. She said, that's exactly the point. I just get so annoyed how you're so happy all the time.
Oh no!
I need somebody deeper than you. Someone with a little third dimension. I said, well, I can have a dark side if you want me to. I can have a dark side.
Sounds like dudes from Even Flow.
He sounds familiar.
Jeremy is spoken. That vocal style. Not to me that.
What is he doing?
I can develop my brooding potential if pain's what you want in a man. Pain I can do. I can have a dark side too. I can have a dark side. I can have a dark side. I can have a dark side. Ooh, yeah.
Pearl Jam. He sounds like a dude from Pearl Jam. That voice, right?
Yeah. He can't handle it. He has to go back out. I love this.
Eddie Vedder.
Oh yeah, offbeat, wicked.
Dude, it's mega talented.
Yeah, he is. does with his face.
He's like looking brooding.
Yes! That's so great.
I would love some double bass.
Yeah.
Look, he's got no shoes.
Oh, really? Barefoot? Yeah.
I called it. This guy's hilarious, dude.
Daddy never came to my ball games. Where were you, Daddy? Daddy never came to my ball games. He never loved me. Daddy never came to my ball game. Daddy never came to my ball game. Daddy never came to my ball games. Daddy never came to my ball games. Daddy never came. He's only sleeping. I can have a dark side. You want me to? You want me to? Yeah, I can have a dark side. If you want me to, I can have a dark side too. I can have a dark side. If you want me to, if you want me to. Yeah, I can have a dark side. If you want me to. Right.
What an interesting way
I
to
can have a dark side too. I think he's
to
is
mock,
what he
but
was saying.
simultaneously show your own vulnerability. That was a piece of art.
Well, anytime you have
That
a
was
comedian,
very
there's
interesting.
always that sort of thing where it's like, yeah, are you funny because that's how you manage your pain? Usually
Yeah, that's exactly
usually the
right.
funniest guy in the room is usually, you know, he developed that over time as a defense mechanism to deal with his pain.
Yep.
So it's kind of it was an interesting way for him to do that. But I knew he was going for that Eddie Vedder sound, man.
Yeah, you
And then-
did.
and
You
then
called it,
I
and then he
called
said it, Jeremy.
And Jeremy spoken. Literally, because I had forgotten Eddie Vedder's name. So literally, I Googled Jeremy spoken. Like literally, that's what I Googled to remember Eddie Vedder's name.
Unbelievable.
So yeah, that was it. So look, literally right there, Jeremy spoken. It's
Yep,
right there.
that's literally what you.
It's literally what I
Yep.
Googled. I'm gonna screenshot it for proof. Gonna screenshot it for proof because when that was going on, I was like, holy shit, who is that? Look, I was like, he's trying to sound like that dude from Pearl Jam. I'm telling you.
And then he announced
There
it.
was the such. Look at that. Proof. And then 10 minutes or
Boom.
whatever he said it.
Oh, Dark Waters. I was laughing to myself when you said that, knowing that Tim was going to say later. What he was going to say later.
What? Oh, look. My so my comments weren't working here. That's why I kept looking back and forth.
Oh.
Literally. Yes, I literally did. Okay. So what did you think about the song?
I just thought, like I said, I thought it was a brilliant way to communicate. Well, like he made it look like it was a joke, and like you said, like that looks like it's a defense mechanism, and it's one of my favorite defense mechanisms when I use it or when people use it. It does seem to help, you know, like it's not a way to overall deal with something, but it can help you get through some things.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when he was saying it, like it all seemed like a giant joke, you know, that he has a dark side and he's gonna show it, and when he does, he puts the lights and the smoke and he plays this certain type of music, but at the same time, like when he gets into it, like I was some of the times I didn't agree with when the I was gonna say the congregation when the people that were there listening would laugh. Like some of it to me was like, whoa, the mood changed and they didn't catch it. I don't know if it's because we were up close on his face and they were all spread out.
Yeah, but the other thing is there's context. You know, I'm sure that this was an entire set performance. See what I'm saying? So we don't know what happened before or after. You know what I'm saying? Then he did the yippee thing. But like the first kind of group was like the record label. He's like talking to the record label because the record label was basically like, hey, you need to be a little bit more dark, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, Mr. Sony. That's a
Where?
record company. When he talks about Sony, it's type Sony,
Yeah,
S-O-N-Y.
I thought this whole thing was a relationship song.
What? Sony, I said S-O-N-Y.
Oh, sorry.
Rasulallah. Good Lord. See, I wrote a letter to Mr. Sony. Hey, what's going down? I got a record and I reckon it's wicked. And I think you should spread it around. And he said, hey, Tim, I quite like your work. He said, it's clever and quirky, but I promise you this. You could be clever as Voltaire, but you won't get nowhere. If you want to sell discs, clever never made no one rich. It doesn't appeal to the teenage market. The teenage market! So that's the record label. That's, look, you know, especially at the time, I don't know what year this was. It's 2013 as a release date. So maybe he's talking about like the past. Maybe he was trying to get a record deal in the 90s.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And he couldn't get one because he wasn't tortured enough. People wanted the tortured still. So this is probably around during the grunge era.
Yep.
Where you had Eddie Vedder, who was a pretty tortured individual, and then of course you had Kurt, who's like the goat.
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain, the goat tortured, you know, brooding soul, right? And that just took off. You know, it took off, and it created this entire thing where everybody was like morose for like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Really until nu metal came and gave us
kinda
something different.
switched
But
up stuff a little bit.
during the grunge era with Eddie Vedder, remember when we did Grunge Week? It was
Oh
like,
yeah, of course I remember
it's
that.
like very draggy and depressing.
Yeah.
And
There were really
you
short
not
songs, too,
allowed-
I think.
Not allowed to have any fun. He couldn't smile and shit.
Yeah.
It was all miserable. But it was like it it was like a low energy misery. You know, like
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Corn is like high energy misery. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I still feel aggressive and I'm doing this
Yeah.
shit. But, you know, it's like, no, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I get that. And then he went to his girlfriend, you know, he's like, he went to his girlfriend said that he was two-dimensional because he didn't have like a dark side to him. Because girls are always attracted to the guy with the dark side.
Yep.
And then they complain about him when he's too dark. Like, you don't complain much about it, but you know, a dark side guy is good to like have like a 6-month fling with. I don't think a dark side guy is a good person to marry. See what I'm saying? Like a good 6-month fling, some mystery. The girls, that's a sweet spot for the girl. But then the girl wants to marry you, and then she wants you to be, you know, a regular or whatever, like everybody else. Like they want to break. No, I'm not like this. Is not a criticism. I'm just saying, like, especially like as a dude with daughters, like. I would want them to find some dark, brooding man of mystery. I just want them to have like a, you know, just a regular dude who's, you know, whatever.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
They don't seem to be, quote, that deep, you know, because a lot of times deep thinkers are usually people who are trying to reconcile the suffering that they're experiencing.
Yeah,
so
I think you're right. It does create a sort of depth.
It can create a sort of, it also can create a very bitter, angry person
That's true
who lashes
too.
out at people and all the rest of it.
You're so nuanced, so balanced with the way you think. Yeah, that's true.
You know, it can create both those situations, and then again, you get deeper because you're trying to figure out why did you do that to that person? And that person had nothing to do with it, or why did you choose occupations that'll allow you to ventilate all this violence and whatever. What does that say about you? So yeah, there's like a lot of depth that goes along with being a deep person, and girls really think that they want that. They want you, trust me, lady, you want it as a teenager, maybe in your early 20s, but I promise you you don't want like a long-term relationship with a dark, brooding individual. It's not a fun existence. But you know, I'm not saying I'm not giving you relationship advice as far as like you should break up with the guy, blah blah blah. I'm just saying like the shit is not, it's not all it's cracked up to be. I'd much rather honestly, like I'd much rather be like this type of guy for her than the type of guy I actually am. But then what would happen is you would be, if I could take a pill and like be like that guy and be funny and happy all the time, whatever he is, I'm projecting him to be. In a year from now, you'd be like, I miss the deep conversations, blah 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 blah. You know, like if we could never have a deep conversation again, but I could be like a happy, clappy dude like that all the time. I mean, I don't know.
No, yeah.
It depends. It depends. When you're in this situation, you're gonna say no, I'd like the break. But then when you're in the other situation, you're like, oh, I miss the depth. You know what I'm saying? Because the other dude was pretty normal. Had a dark side. He had a sinful nature, but he didn't have he wasn't a dark. He never got dark.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then you're like, I was bored. I was domesticated. You know what I'm saying? We never had any deep conversations. We didn't talk about anything. You know what I'm saying? So it's a balance.
Yep.
It's a balance. It's a balance. But I think that this guy, Jack Black, is another one of these guys that's just like insanely funny, like legitimately funny, but is gifted musically. Like Jack Black is really gifted musically.
He is. I definitely agree. I always enjoy when he's going to be on the lineup. I always enjoy to see what's he going to do, especially to me he always starts as the panda from Kung Fu Panda, and then I move on to him being a musician. It's just unbelievable to me. Panda. Yeah, that's who the voice for on Kung Fu Panda the cartoon. It's Jack Black is the voice of the panda.
Oh, is he? No, yeah. I didn't know that.
So it starts as that, and then it goes to like him, and I'm like, this is unbelievable that panda is doing this. You know what I mean? Like that's just how it like processes in my head. But this guy, like when he's doing his, like I don't know, like his face was communicating so much, like his eyes and stuff. Like sometimes his eyes would switch, and then his face would follow, and you weren't really sure what was going to come next. Like you weren't sure if he was going to if he was going to let himself go a little bit deeper into that darkness that he feels and that he knows that is a part of him, or if he was just going to be like, wah, and come back out of it because he can't deal with that depth. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I thought it was relatable. And I don't know, maybe it's not even a healthy song, but that I like songs that are kind of like a performance as well. There's a song, I think it's High Ren, and I showed it to you. Remember, I was like, it's 9 minutes, but
Oh yeah. I guess everybody and their mother's reacting to that joint. Somebody sent me an email. It was like, yo, you got to react to this. Everybody's reacting to this song.
It's too late.
Your boy.
Yep, it's too late. I watched it, and that's something that we don't usually do is like, but you know what happened? It came up in my, so my own YouTube suggestion, it came up there, and usually whatever pops up in mine never gets requested on this channel.
Yeah.
So I thought it was never something that was going to get requested, but I can totally see how somebody would have wanted to. It was an incredible song, but this guy to me is like it even.
We should probably still review it. I mean, I'd still review it because.
Oh, I would still review it
too.
too.
A lot of shit lyrically, and people are going like, "Yo, I can't."
Yeah, I would still review it too for sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
Yeah, I would definitely. If you wanted to do it, I'd jump in with you for sure. But anyway, like this guy, he has that sort of theatrical nature to his music, and I think that that's kind of what we're going for in our songs, like.
Yes.
That you
100%.
know. So I like that. I like to see some. It's funny because if there's a movie or a show and it has like a lot of singing in it, I feel bored by that. Mm-hmm. But if there's singing that you add acting to, that to me is like that is it. That is the best. So yeah, I really like that. With this part though, my God. This part when he was like, okay, like gonna become brooding for her because that's what she wanted. Like, at first I didn't realize that he was expressing that he actually is like that. He just doesn't really know how to let it out. But that I thought at first he was like kind of like changing for her.
Where do you see that he is like that?
Oh, just as the song progressed and the way that he, like when right before he goes into like talking about his dad, like one of the like he sings the chorus differently as he progresses and stuff, and then there was times where when he was singing it, like you visually it looked like he was letting himself slip into that spot that he usually stays out of by humor, and then like to me like his face and his eyes like communicated that he was kind of like getting into that spot, and then like when he did it again when he was like, Daddy never came to my ball games, and then it kind of sounds like, oh my word, like why would somebody, but then it like becomes more serious as he's singing it, and then it's like he's upset about it that his father's not coming. It's like a big deal that the dad's not coming to the ball games, and then he goes into he's only sleeping and kind of makes a joke and moves out of it again. Like, so to me we were seeing him like kind of going in and humor pulling him out, and that was all part of the I want to say act, but it didn't feel like an act. Like it felt like he was really like letting us see like those sides of himself through his art.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, obviously, like, as I was looking at the song, like, I was thinking to myself, yeah, but he really means all that stuff, though. Like, but then I'm like, yeah, maybe you're just projecting yourself onto him. Maybe he's legitimately making fun of the music industry and making fun of people who always want to have some darkness in art and you know, be a brooding, miserable person. Maybe he's just genuinely a happy person, and he genuinely doesn't understand why everything has to be so dark all the time. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm reading myself into him and being like, oh, you know, I've cracked jokes and things like that, and you know, I haven't really been happy. But that's me. He could genuinely just be happy. Like he genuinely could. It's on the table that he could be that way. He could just genuinely be happy. Maybe he wasn't being serious at all. Maybe he's just always had a happy disposition, and maybe he just doesn't know why everything has to be all miserable all the time, or why you have to be a miserable person to be considered a deep person. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So maybe that's it. I mean, it is interesting though. I've heard people say, "Oh, this person's deep, that person's deep." I've never heard anybody say that about like a consistently happy person. Like I've never heard like, oh, that guy's so happy and happy jolly. I've heard people say that guy's a happy guy. It's fun to be around that. I've heard it's fun to be around people like that, but I've never heard so and so is deep. It's almost like, you know, we have this bias like suffering is some sort of payment of entry into being philosophically deep. It's like,
I don't think that, because like I never knew why, but I did find that, and I don't know, maybe this is like some weird racist thing to say, I don't know. Like I always found that like when I talked to like other black people, there was always like some depth to them, and I was like, where is this coming from? Because I believed that white and black existence in America was experienced the same way. It was just, you know, maybe there was some complaining on one side, but there was anything, I didn't think there was anything different. So I didn't understand like why there seemed to be like a certain level of like real practical depth to the black people that I was meeting. And then obviously now that I'm married to you and I've experienced things and stuff, I understand that just to be black in America requires a certain amount of depth that you have to get, because there are certain things that you're going to experience, and you got to go past those things, and you're still going to try to live, you know? So, I don't think that people are like, oh, because they suffer, they have more depth. I think that people that suffer become deeper, like what you said before, where they have to reconcile their suffering with life, with existence, with if there's a God, if there's not a God, the implications for all that stuff. Like I think that starts, like, pain pushes you to a level like, and at some point you want to start reasoning with it and asking those questions. So I think that it does bring, I don't think that that's just because, oh, they've been through some stuff, so they must be deep. I mean, haven't you met people?
No, I'm not saying that everybody who suffers is deep. What I'm saying is every deep person has suffered.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing. That's not saying the same thing. So what I was saying was that the suffering seems to be a gateway to entry for wisdom, is what I'm saying.
I agree with that.
Right. So I said it seems to be because I'm not exactly sure that that's true.
I thought you were saying that people automatically see somebody that's happy and just assume that they didn't go through anything painful.
No, I think what I'm saying is people are less likely and again, this could be my own projection, but it looks to me like people are less likely to interpret a person who's consistently happy as a deep person, is what I'm saying. Usually, if somebody's consistently happy, they get described as fun, life of the party. You very rarely hear them described as that dude is deep. It seems to be if the guy has some suffering, not that he's depressed all the time, but if the guy's gone through some shit, gone through some suffering, has bouts of depression, those are the type of people that people, oh, that's a deep brother, that guy's deep, blah, 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 and it usually comes out of some sort of suffering. What I'm saying is, I don't think suffering is necessary as a gateway of entry to create wisdom. I do think that there's a lot of wisdom you can get from people who are consistently happy, is my point. And there's a sense in which those people are probably the wisest people ever. Because if you can be consistently happy in this world, then you've figured some shit out. I mean, it could be that you're completely delusional and you're living in a fantasy world, but people who are genuine, like you get a guy like John Piper, like obviously he has some depths to him and he looks suffering in the face, but overall he seems to be a pretty happy guy. Although, you know, again, I kind of contradicted myself because he talks about going through bouts of depression and things like that, you know, and I was on the height of my Piperism, like, you know, I held on to that shit for dear life. But yeah, so I don't know, you know, like I will say this. If you ran into an old head, like a 75-year-old, 80-year-old person, and they were consistently happy, I feel like all of us would say there's some wisdom there that we can learn from. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
But if it's a young person and they're consistently happy, they're just going to be the life of the party. They're going to be fun.
Yeah.
But we're not going to interpret them as deep. And what I'm thinking through is, I don't know. Maybe they've figured something out. Maybe they're the smartest people in the room. And maybe they've figured out that much of this shit isn't really that consequential. Like, it's not that big of a deal. Let me just be happy with the people I'm around. Maybe they figured, maybe that's the wisest person of all. You know what I'm saying? When you get to the end of Ecclesiastes, it's like, hey, man, at the end of the day, just love God, love your neighbor, do the best you can. And that's have fun with the wife of your youth. You're not going to have it for long. Have fun. Have a good one. Like, that's pretty much that's the Bible.
Yeah.
Like, so maybe that's the true wisdom, is finding ways to be. That's how G.K. Chesterton ended orthodoxy. The last word in orthodoxy is mirth. M-I-R-T-H. It's like this inner happiness. He's talking about Jesus. and he was talking about it's this entire book of philosophy. It's Chesterton's most famous work. Incredible stuff. I read that book 20 years ago. Dave gave it to me. I read that book
Really?
20. I read it in one sitting, but it was so
One sitting?
But it was incredible.
How big was it? Was it big?
A couple hundred pages. But like,
Would I like it?
you might.
Okay.
You
anyway.
might, but it's just this intricate philosophy, brilliant. Chesterton would just make fun of people. Like, he would point out, like, the flaws and the logic and the thinking, and he would just mercilessly, like, cut throats for, like, the entire book. But then he started talking about Jesus at the end, and he said, basically, his most defining characteristic was his mirth. Because he would talk about Jesus being
That's interesting.
being a child.
Did you say that was inner joy?
Always maintaining being a child while at the same time being older than everybody.
Yeah.
So Jesus
Yeah,
was
okay.
younger and older than everybody, and then
Yeah.
he said his defining characteristic was his mirth, so like this inner happiness that he had. You know what I'm saying? So
That's
maybe that's the ultimate wisdom. Maybe people who find ways to be happy all the time, they're the wisest ones out of everybody.
That's one thing that I mean, I haven't seen a lot of the episodes of The Chosen, but that is one thing that I have noticed of the episodes that I've seen is that the Jesus that is portrayed in them is happy. And he's usually so serious in all the depictions of him, which it's almost, I think, part of the reason why I have a little bit of an aversion to the show, because I'm having a hard time to reconcile that to what I've always thought that it was like. I always pictured him to be so serious on mission.
100%.
But like I do see that the scripture says that he got invited to parties.
Yeah.
So I mean, he couldn't have been just serious all the time.
That's why-
Like people were inviting him.
That's why when they're like, we're going to call down fire from heaven.
Yeah.
And he looks at him and says, fire.
Fire.
Fire. Oh, that was great. You guys should watch The Chosen. If we were still doing Bible bookies, we would just do a Chosen watch along every week. It'd be fun. All right. I give the song a 10. This was an amazing song. I really liked it. I liked what he did. I love the performance art. I love the fact that I don't know how serious he was. Like, I still don't know if he's just trying to ventilate his pain and using comedy as a shield, or if he's just genuinely a funny, happy person who's trying to understand why everybody has to be miserable to be considered, deep or whatever. I think that's brilliant. So it's a 10 for me.
It's an 11 for me.
The originality was out of this world. This is a really good song, 7. This is not like...
This is really, really
When he
good.
hit me up, he's like, yo, what you want, man? Like, I want to be heavy, man. I want to rock. I want to break shit. I want to wreck shop. He's like, bet. But he's like, I got some other stuff in there for you. I think this was one of them. Shout out to 7. Vin
Thank you.
out.
Sorry out.
Gone. I wanted the heavy shit.
Yeah,
It's
I
better be heavy
like
shit.
this stuff.
I think Testament is next, bitches. So I think we got some heavy shit. Listen to our commercial about our formula.